what I'm going to go over are these pinking shears that I've bought, and let you know, I know that my channel, my main channel, is the Frugal Fly Rodder. And the frugal, I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding as to what frugal actually means. Frugal does not mean cheap. Frugal means being smart with the money that you spend. And sometimes you have to spend a little extra money to get quality products so that they last, and that's where the frugalness comes in, because you don't have to buy the product over and over and over again. Plus, usually the quality products will do a better job. I don't really think this holds true for things like fly rods and reels and that sort of thing, depending on what you're fishing for. I'm typically a smallmouth guy. I do chase some hybrids. I'm going to be chasing carp, although I've caught carp many times on my fly rod, but not purposely. So this year I'm actually going to go out and try and give it a shot at catching some carp purposely. Now watch, I'll probably not catch one. I don't believe that to be true. I'm sure I'll catch some. I also want to give a shot at muskie. Never have actually even caught a muskie before, and I do have a friend, actually a couple of friends that, actually a few friends that have chased muskie before on a fly rod, and we, out of the three, I should be able to get one guy to go out with me to make sure that I'm doing everything right. Most likely you're not going to catch a muskie on a 3-weight, 4-weight, 5-weight rod. You're going to have to get up in at the minimum, very minimum, probably a 7, 8, or a 9-weight rod, in which I will do. But back to the pinking shears. These are ones that I purchased online. They're a Fiskars brand, but the problem with these Fiskars is the metal that they're made from is attached to a plastic tool that holds this metal in place, and if you listen, it sounds cheap. I mean, you can hear the thin metal, that rasping noise. That's thin metal. So if you look at these here, these are pinking shears as well, but they are much thicker across this way than the craft ones that you can buy, as you can see here, right, like that. Look at the difference. Now, when you try to use the pinking shears that are the craft brand, what happens is if you try to make a cut, and actually it becomes more pronounced the closer you get to the tip of the scissors, or the shears, actually, in this case. The closer you get to the tip, the more what will happen is the shears will separate like this. Now, if you look at these won't separate no matter how hard. No matter how hard I push on them. So what that means is, when you're cutting on something like a thick piece of foam, now you might get away with cutting the 2 millimeter or even maybe the 3 millimeter. This is a 2 millimeter black, and you go down to the end, and it does cut, but it doesn't really cut that sharp in there, as you can see at the tip. Now, if I take the larger shears, and you can see a major difference between the two cuts. See if I can get it in the camera here a little bit better. Right like that. If you look at this side here, it's more, you know, it's not as sharp as a cut as this side. This side's more smooth, that was cut with the more expensive shears. This side is not. It's kind of raggy looking. So if you would, real quick, let's take a look at these shears online here. And here's these pinking shears that I was showing you a minute ago. It's a different collar handle, obviously, but they're the same thing. And if you look over on the price that they are on Amazon, those shears are $4 and 69 cents, and they're saying that they have free shipping with them. They're cheaper scissors, obviously, absolutely cheaper scissors. But then the other ones that I have, as you can see here, these shears are only $9.33 with free shipping. I think it's worth the extra $3 to get a better pair of shears that's going to cut through and make much better profiles on the foam, and even some thin leathers that you can use to cut. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tie up. Let's see, I got a couple of them here. Is to tie up something like this one here, and I'll tell you, I just see this as being a pretty dynamite fly out on the water. I mean, I don't know what it really emulates, but the body, the profile, well, I'm having a hard time keeping it in camera there. The body and profile is pretty awesome, actually. At least I think. Now this is tied on a Gamakatsu V10S hook, and I got the wrong hook because before I started this I had a different fly that I was getting ready to tie for myself, but I thought I'd go ahead and get on this live video and kind of show the difference between the cheaper pinking shears and the more expensive ones, $3 more expensive. So yeah, we'll go ahead and tie one of those up real quick, just like I have there. And I'll tell you, a lot of people ask me about patterns and that sort of thing, and I really, I mean, I could have a million videos, but I don't really tie anything the same, at least not exactly the same each time. And if you look at the flies that I have, and I do say that I need to get some video up so you guys can at least have one go by video, and then you can venture out from what I've showed you and create your own patterns. But real quick on the foams, here's a 10 millimeter piece of white, and my whites, where I get this, the supplier, and I do have some of this for sale on my website at thefrugalflyrodder.com. This stuff here, 5 millimeter, you can get at the craft store. No reason for me to have it for sale. This stuff here is harder to find, and when you do find it, the 10 millimeter, you usually cannot buy, at least not that I've seen. You can't buy small chunks of it. You have to buy a full, I can't remember the size of the sheet. I think it's like 3 foot by 7 or 8 feet long. I mean, that's a big sheet. So I've cut it down into blocks that I think would be, enough for people if they want to purchase something like that. Again, you can get it off my website at thefrugalflyrodder.com. But you can see the difference in the size here of the two foams, the 5 and the 10 millimeter. And here's the thing: when you go to cut, here's one that I cut, and it's only cut on one side. It's flat here, and then it has the jaggy edges on each side, which gives it a nice profile. But I got to thinking, well, how about doing the profile all the way around? Well, I was able to cut both sides, obviously, and then when I cut down this way, I lost most of the meat from the 5 millimeter black, and I wasn't able to get any further cutting done on all sides. So I took my white and I cut it down, and right there you can see the white. I was able to get it, just because it's a thicker piece of foam, I can cut it on all sides. Once I cut this way, once I cut like this, then I can take my shears and grab it and then turn it around again, and then cut again. And then that way I've got you know, the segregations or whatever the hell it's called, all the way around the material itself. So yeah, I got enough of this stuff that I don't need to keep it. I'll just throw that away right there. But what I did on this white one, which is really kind of a good thing about white, is I hit the high points with a marker, and then and just for, you know, contrast, I did it with a lighter color to accentuate the, you know, the ribbing down through this tail. And I did it with my Copic airbrush system. So, you know, if I had a really dark purple marker and hit the high points and then took a real light purple and airbrush down through there, I think it would give a pretty good realistic looking tail. But not to say that this wouldn't work, because most likely it will. But anyway, the things that I use to tie this with are this stuff right here, which is called a bait fish emulator, and then I've got some of this, which is well, the place where I bought it, it was called a crystal chenille. And to go to the website again, Amazon, here's the bait fish emulator, and it's sold by Hairline, as you can see there. A lot of people get on me, you know, saying that I need to support local shops and that sort of thing. Well, I do agree. If there's a local shop near you that you know, does a good job at customer service, and they take care of you, and, you know, don't try to talk over top of you, then I'd say absolutely go to those shops. In fact, I've got one that I go to on a regular basis, and it's called the Real Fly Rod Company over near Dayton, Ohio. They do a really good job. The guys are very helpful, and they never try to out-talk you when you're there trying to buy some of their products. Anyway, the bait fish emulator, it comes pretty long here, and one of the things that let me move that. One of the things that you can do to this stuff, you don't have to use the full length. In fact, what I did here was I took my shears and cut inside like this, just a number of times, just to thin it out and make it really jaggy across there, and that makes for a really good profile. So I want this to actually be even shorter, so I'm going to cut like this, and then I'm going to go back through again. Then I'm going to go back through again and do some thinning out of the material so I can get a nicer looking profile to the end of the tail of this material. I mean, this is how I get that done. Okay, so now that I have this part ready to go, I'm going to make a little bit of noise here because I want to get all this stuff out of the way. Got a vacuum up underneath here. Okay, we already have a Gamakatsu B10S. It's a size 2 hook here. I'm going to use a black thread that I buy from Orvis, and it's a black braided thread. It doesn't lay flat. It's actually almost like a regular sewing thread, but man, this stuff is so strong. You can really crank down on it. You can crank down on it with hair bugs if you want to. I mean, it just doesn't break that easily. So let's put a little bit of a base on here, just like so. Hopefully you can see what it is that I'm cutting and how I'm cutting it and everything. I got stuff falling on the floor all over the place here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make me the tail that I'm going to use on this here, and I'm going to put a little bit of a taper in this direction, and then I'm going to flip it around and go back out in the other direction. But when I do this, and I wish the lighting was a little better, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but I take my scissors, I match up the cut, and then I will offset the cut 1/2, which will put the peaks of those at right in line with one another. Okay, and that's what I end up with right there. Okay, and then to kind of finish it up, I can trim it down and maybe even put a little bit of a cut in the tail here, like so. And then before I tie it on, I'll make another cut. I'll try to decide on how long I want this thing to be, the tail. So I'll actually look at it, and probably this much of it right here is going to be tied down, and then I'll let this part here stick out the back. So I'm only going to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4.5 of these to make sure that it tapers in real nice. And so you can kind of round off the edges a little bit down to that 4th one. Okay, and then the other thing that I'll do is I will take an X-Acto knife, and then I'll put a slit in it. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'll go all the way through like that. And the reason for that is I'm going to put some super glue, just regular old super glue, right on the tail end of the thread that I laid down as a base. And what that'll do is it'll help lock the foam into place so that it doesn't spin around on me too much. I keep some little tabs there to keep the thing all cleaned up. So I'll go ahead and run it in and then hold it down for a couple seconds for the super glue to set up. There we go. And then run the thread around and cinch that baby down real good. Might have this thing just a little bit too long, but it's not going to hurt a thing. Okay, so now we'll take the bait fish emulator, and again we cut it shorter so that it would give a better profile around the tail that we're going to be putting on there. So let's go ahead and tie this in. Time you make a wrap, you might want to kind of make sure it's flowing back here nicely. You want these to be kind of tight. There, so far so good. Okay, now what I'm going to want to do, actually get a little bit of a ramp right here so that it flows down nicely. when I put the other wrap on, so it doesn't have a sharp drop off from here to here. So now what I want to do is throw some rubber legs on, and I'll put 2 strands on each side, which will actually end up giving me 4 lengths. And what I'll do is I will have the rubber about the same length as what that tail is on the back side there, and cinch this down. Might even go a little bit longer, bring this rubber right over top of itself, pull it down, and there you go. Now to get it, there we go. Separate the rubber. Now we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Get 2 pieces of this black. Again, we're going to have it about the same length as the tail, maybe just a little bit longer. Wrap it in, line it back up, fold it over itself, and then crank it down, and then trim it up to the length of the tail, just like that, and then separate the 2 that need to be separated, just like that. Oops. And there we go. We've got that part of it done. And now what I'm going to do is use this other crystal flash, and what it is it's also sold on Amazon, and it's this stuff right here. You can buy it in different colors, and here's the black. This stuff here is not cheap. It's $6.59 a length. I'm not sure how long it is. And this stuff here, where's the price on this stuff here? Okay, it says $5.99 there, so I'm not sure why it doesn't have the price. Oh, there it is, one new from $5.99 right there. Okay, there it is right there. So you'd go ahead and purchase that. But this stuff here is really nice because it'll lay down another layer of this material over top of the rubber, and we'll go ahead and wrap that in. And to get it from slipping and sliding on me, what I'll do is I'll throw a little bit of super glue on top. You only need it on one side. You don't need to put it all the way around. And then that way, when you get ready to wrap it, and it will stay in that one spot and not slide around on you. At least not slide around too bad until it sets up, and then it should be good to go for the whole time. And then each time you make a wrap, this is almost like a regular, hackle type feather. You got to pull back on the material, like so. I am really wrapping on this thing because when I chase smallmouth, I know they like beefy flies. There's just no doubt in my mind that if they chase something, they want to chase something that they can eat, and it's going to stay in their system for a while. Anyone who doesn't chase smallmouth on a regular basis may not totally understand that, but meaty flies are pretty productive when you're chasing large warm water fish. I know I only know by what people tell me on about trout, because I have no idea about trout. I'm not a trout guy. There we go. And then we'll just build up a nice looking, somewhat proportionate head here. And that's what's kind of nice about this braided thread too. It builds up really fast. And let's go to here, and I don't know if you can see that or not. Hopefully you can. Yeah. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back. And then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back, and then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back, and then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back, and then I'm not going to worry about too many wraps to finish it off. Okay, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of UV on there. So there's the head. The way it should finish off is to be like that. There's the back, and then